Computer. Got it. And I think we're in session now.
Awesome. It sounds like maybe we're gonna program rock, paper, scissors, right? We're gonna make a game out of it. So we'll do some fun things with this. The cool part is this actual lesson can be done with Bolt or Bolt Plus. So what we'll do is we'll program it one way and then we'll go in and modify it to change some things. Um, and you can decide what style you like best. Bolt Plus is actually 99.9% backwards compatible with all of the Bolt lessons. So you can take a lesson in Sphero Central that says Bolt and use it in with a Bolt Plus robot. So if you've been using Bolt or have seen something or talked to a coworker that has been using Bolt, and they're like, I love this lesson. You're like, oh, but I got Bolt Plus. Don't worry, you can still do that same lesson. It has all those same capabilities there. Um, so let me grab the right slide here to get us started. And we're going to start programming Bolt Plus. So if you haven't already, go ahead and open up Sphero EDU. And remember that you can do this on any kind of programming device or on our web app now. So if you go to edu.sphero.com/code, it will actually, you can code right in a web browser, which is really cool. I'm going to be using my iPad tonight, but there is no reason you couldn't do this right from the web app as well. So your pick. The cool part is all of our apps now look almost identical, right? There's a few things just because of operating systems, but for the most part, they look the same and have the same capabilities. So don't fear if it's just slightly looking different, it's probably doing the exact same thing. And if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and just ask. Not a problem. So this is a real lesson. It is in Sphero Central. It is in Sphero EDU. If you like to, come back to this later, the lesson code is in the bottom left-hand corner there. That lesson code can be typed into the search bar in Sphero Central, and it will take you to this exact lesson. Again, this lesson is actually written for Bolt, but we're gonna mix it up here a little bit and do it with Bolt Plus and kind of make some changes.
Hey,
So,
Brad, I have a question. If I'm in the app in my phone and I just go to Sphero and lessons, I can type that in. Is that right?
yeah, so I'll actually show you what that looks like. So if you go over here to lessons and Sphero, up at the top it says enter a lesson code. You can actually type that lesson code right into here. So it was 71662. And it will actually take us right to this lesson. And you can jump into this. You can, if since I'm in as a teacher, I could hit assign and do it with
Okay.
class. Or in this case, I'll hit continue. And you can actually see I have part of this built already in that lesson. So I'm going to do it from scratch today. But yeah, absolutely. That's the best way to, if you're trying to get kids in there and you didn't make a class or you're trying to share a lesson with another teacher, give them that lesson code because it'll get them right to it. All right. So I'm going to start by creating a brand new program. I am going to name it. So rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to do block coding, and we're going to choose Bolt Plus because that's the robot I'm using. If you like Christy said, she doesn't have access to the robot right now. No big deal. You can still do all this programming and just not connect to the robot. Then when you do get access to the robot, you'll be able to just connect to it and test your work. See how it goes. So do feel free to follow along with the coding part. I'm going to hit create. It's going to bring me to my coding canvas, and I am now ready to start building my program. So on start program is our first event, and it is always right there Basically, what that block is saying is when I hit the start button at the top of the screen, run whatever code is attached to this. So the first thing I'm going to do is under movements, I'm going to bring the stabilization block up here, and I'm going to turn stabilization off. Now, the reason I'm turning stabilization off is this particular lesson is going to use the robot as a handheld device. It's not going to roll around on the floor or anywhere else. It's going to be used in your hand. So since it's going to be used in your hand, we're going to turn that stabilization off so that it's not trying to orient itself all the time, and then you're trying to rotate it and read the screen and it's the wrong direction. So we're going to bring that stabilization up there and turn it off. The next part of this is we are going to add some instructions for our user. So there's two ways we're going to do that. We're going to do it with sounds, and we're going to do it with a visual with text. So I'm going to start with the speak block here. And there are a couple ways that we can actually trigger this thing to happen. So we could shake the robot. If you were using Bolt and following the lesson itself, you could shake it. But Bolt Plus has this really cool feature where you can actually program on-screen software buttons. So in this case, we're gonna switch it up a little bit, and we're going to use a software button. So I'm going to say press button to play. And you can set this at the end. It has wait or continue. Wait, think of that as a delay. That's the length of the sound. So if it takes the programming device, say 3 seconds to say this and have it set to wait, it's going to wait for 3 seconds from the time it starts executing that block until it's finished. Then it's going to go to the next block. If I set it to continue, it's going to start saying whatever's in that speak block and then immediately go to the next block. It's actually one of the ways where you can get two things to appear to be happening at the exact same time. So I'm going to set mine to continue for right now. And now I have two ways to display instructions. I could do the matrix thing and scroll text, but I think I'm going to stay with the Bolt Plus method right now. And I'm going to bring the display text up there. That's in the blue display category. And in here, you can set the colors. So right now, by default, it's white text on a black background. You can switch that up if you want. Add some style to that. And then we have two different size fonts that can be displayed in a text block. You can do the smaller font, which will give you 6 lines, or the larger font, which will give you 5 lines. And each line, when you do this, has a set amount of characters. So if you have a lot of text you want to display, you can actually do up to 60 characters with the small font, versus here, you're only going to be able to do 35 with the larger font. So it just depends what it is you're trying to do. So I'm gonna stick with the larger font for right now, and I'm gonna say shake. Oh, no, not shake. Try that again. Press button to play. And once I have that in, you can just hit that check mark. It's good to go. And that is what is going to give us our instructions to our user. Now there's other things we can do here, like we have LEDs, so we could bring in like main LED and like switch it to green if you want. That just signals to the person like, hey, we're done with the instructions, we're ready to go. Hit that button and we'll start playing the game. I'm a big fan of giving feedback to a person when they're running my code. I want to give them as much feedback as possible. If you've ever used a program and you've done something and clicked something, and you're like, did it do it or did it not do it? Like that's never fun to try and figure out like, did it actually work or not? I never want to have my users being, questioning that. So I try to give them as much feedback as possible. Now, with this, we have three possible outcomes. We have rock, we have paper, and we have scissors. Those are our three possible outcomes. So we want to randomly generate a rock, a paper, or scissors. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to randomly generate a number. So I'm just going to like slide this over for a second, and I'm going to slide my categories as well and go to the events category. It's like the third to the last one. And I'm going to bring an on button event up here. And you can name this like play, roll, whatever makes sense to you. Name the button. It's what will show up on the screen when we run the code on your programming device. So it'll actually say, it'll show a button there and it'll say roll. Just like we have at the top of the screen, that green button that says start. It'll be like that, but it'll be down the screen further. So we're going to do that. And then we need to add a variable. So if you're not versed in coding, a variable is a place where we store information, right? That variable will store our random number. Now, the cool part is we can change that variable throughout the program. Matter of fact, every time we press the button, that variable is going to change value in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to create a variable. So as you scroll over here a little bit, there's that pink variables category. I'm going to hit the create a variable button. It's going to show up here. The first thing we need to do is give it a name. I'm super creative with it. I'm going to call it RPS, rock, paper, scissors. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to refer to mine as RPS. So if you want to name it that to be consistent, great. I mean, as long as you know what I'm talking about, we're good. So I'm going to do that. And now there's 4 types of variables we can create in Sphero EDU. The first one is called string. And string is strictly a text field, right? So we can put text in there, we can change it over time. There's all kinds of things you can do there. We don't want text, we actually want a number. So we're going to do a number. The other 2 that are there are Boolean and color. Boolean is a true or false statement, and color is essentially 3 number variables all together in one group, one for red, one for green, and one for blue. So we're going to start with number, and right next to number, when I click on that, it shows a 0 there. I'm going to leave that there, but I want to explain what that is. That 0 is the initial value of the variable. So RPS, when we first hit the start button, RPS is going to be equal to 0, which is convenient because if we end up with 0, we know that there's a problem, right? Like we're not assigning something in our code correctly, right? So we're going to let it at 0. Once you have it named, make sure you select number and then hit that check mark up there. And you're going to see 2 new blocks appear down in the bottom categories. You're going to see RPS and set RPS. I'm going to take the set RPS and drag it up here. If I had more than one variable in this program, it would show up in this drop down here. So there's only ever one set block. You can make 100 variables and there's always just going to be one set block and you'll have a really long list here. When we hit that button, we want to set RPS to a random number. So we're going to go to the operators category, that blue category, and we're going to get the random int block. And you'll notice that the shape of this block is kind of oval, and the shape of the opening in the set block up here is also oval. So just like the the toddler block game, we can take this and drop it inside of there. You can see when I kind of take it over it, it lights up. I'm going to drop that inside of there. That nests those two blocks together. Now, right now, this says random int being integer. If I click on the drop down, you can see you have the option to change it to float. So the difference here, integer being a whole number versus a float being a floating point decimal. We don't want to use a floating point decimal for this kind of an activity because the chances of us getting like 1, 2, or 3 are going to be so slim, right? So we want to make sure we stick with integer. If you ever do this with students, that's a common thing. They're like, tapping around the screen all over the place and they change that by accident. And then all of a sudden the code doesn't work. So take a look at that if you ever have an issue. Then we're going to switch our possible answers here from 1 to 3. 1 being rock, 2 being paper, 3 being scissors. So now we have a random number when we press the button. And now we need to check what random number was generated when we hit the button so we know what to display, whether it's rock, whether it's paper, whether it's scissors. We're also going to speak that and show some kind of symbol on the screen. So we have all kinds of fun things we're going to do here. So to check that, we're going to go under the controls category. And right now under controls, we only see delay, loop, and exit. But if you hit the little arrows there, it will expand the controls category. We're going to grab the if then statement here and drop that in place. And once we have that in place, we need to compare two things to see if it's true. We're going to compare the value of RPS to something else. So we're going to go to comparators, grab the 0 equals 0, and notice how the shape matches. We can drop it into there. Now we're going to go to that variables category, get RPS, and we're going to say equals 1. So if we randomly get a 1, it's going to be a rock. So we'll go under sound and grab the speak block, and we'll have it speak rock. Again, I don't need this to wait. I'm going to say continue. I mean, frankly, the word rock is really short, so you might not even know the difference. How, when it displays that, whether it plays it right away and displays something right away, or there's a delay in there, doesn't matter. Now, since we have Bolt Plus and we have that fun LCD screen on the top, we are going to go to the display category and we're going to display.
Brad, can I stop you for just a minute?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Where you have RPS equals 1. Where did you get that? I'm having a hard time finding that one. Is that under variables?
Same question I had.
Yep, no problem. Let me do it again so we can see it, okay? Let me get back to that point. So we're going to go to comparators. That's where we get that odd-shaped block here under comparators because we're going to compare those two values. So we can drop that in place. And then we're going to go to variables and grab the oval RPS.
Oh, okay. That's the one I missed.
Yep. So you're actually nesting multiple blocks.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got that now.
Yeah, it's a
block.
Yeah, it's a block inside of a block inside of a block, right?
Oh, okay. I'm there now. And then the next one is.
Yep. So then we have our speak to throw that in there.
Is that under, what's that under? Speak?
That's under sounds. Yep. Under sounds.
Okay.
And you just want to type in what we're going to speak. In this case, it's rock. And
Okay.
throw rock into there.
All right.
And it doesn't matter if you set this one to continue or wait. I'm going to set mine to continue to kind of keep things moving as we play the game. It's going to speed it up ever so slightly. And then I'm going to go to the display category and grab a display image block. Now I can do this because I'm using a Bolt Plus. If I was using the original Bolt, I don't have the display image category. Like I don't have that display category at all because it doesn't have a screen, but Bolt Plus has the screen. So with display image, I'm going to tap on the image and there's all kinds of things in here. There's categories in here. You can there's tons of different things. Um, so you can find all kinds of stuff in here. So if we think about rock, I can go in here, I can grab rock. It's that fist icon, right? And apply it. Then I need to decide how long I want this to be on the screen. So I usually say like 3 seconds or so. I want it on the screen. So I'm going to go to the controls category and grab a delay. I'm going to set that to 3 seconds. You can make it whatever you want. If you only want it on there for 2, or maybe you want it on there for 5, whatever it might be, you can throw that on there. And then I'm going to go back to display and choose clear display. What that will do is when I press the button, if it randomly generates a 1, it's going to say rock. It's going to show the fist or the rock icon for 3 seconds, and then it's going to clear the screen. That way, we're now ready for the next round. So we could go through this same process and build it over and over again, but I'm a big fan of coding efficiently, right? So what I would do is I'm going to press and hold on my if-then statement. Make sure I'm not dragging it like I just did there. And when you press and hold on it, it's like right-clicking. So if you're on a computer doing this, you can right-click, does the same thing. And I'm going to choose duplicate. What that does is it duplicates that entire section of code, right? That entire if-then statement. I'm going to attach it after the first if-then statement. So if we're looking at that, I have my set RPS, the first if statement for rock, and then I have my second if statement, which is an identical copy. So we want to edit that. I'm going to zoom in on that just to make it easier here. And I'm going to set this, instead of being 1, I'm going to set it to 2. I now am going to call this paper. And then, of course, we want to change our image. And that image is under hand gestures category. And we should be able to find paper. And apply that. And we're going to do that same thing one more time. So right click or long press, duplicate, and do the same thing. Set it to 3, set it to scissors. And don't forget the hand gesture category. And there we go. Did that really fast, so I'll give you a moment to catch up there. right. So once we have that, we're actually ready to test this, and then we'll come back and make some changes. So to test my code, I'm going to click on the Connect menu up in the top right corner. Make sure you're searching for Bolt Plus. And I'm now going to give my robot a shake. So when I give it a shake, it's going to wake up. And on my programming device, I will now see my robot. It's the same number on this screen as what we're seeing on the screen of the robot or on the blue license plate on the robot. I'm going to tap on my programming device or click, and it is going to connect. So I'm now connected. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to give my code a little bit of test here, trying to get this rotated in a way so that hopefully the logo is visible. So up in the top, I'm going to hit the green start button. And you'll notice my robot didn't move. It didn't go anywhere. But it is giving me instructions here. It says press button to play. And I could change that, make it, better. Maybe say press the roll button to play, whatever it is. Now, once I have that on my programming device at the bottom, it says buttons. And the first button there says roll. I'm going to hit that button. And when I do, we'll see what happens. So, Christy, I know you don't have your device, but you got a hand, so you can compete with me, right? So here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, rock. I got a rock. How'd you do? We're hoping for a robot still, right? So once we roll, we can see I got a rock right away. If I press it again, and this is my luck when I do this demo, I end up with rock like 18 times. There we go, paper. And the reason we're not hearing it is I don't have the volume turned on my iPad, so I'll turn this up so hopefully we can hear it too. Scissors. There we go. Scissors. And you can hit that button paper as many times as you want, and you can keep going. Now, rock. If you remember, I said before, I like to give my users a lot of feedback. So there's some things I could do to improve this program to continuously give them feedback. So at the beginning, I lit up all these green LEDs around there. I could change that to a different color until it's ready to do the next round. So if I want to do that, I can come in here. I can grab or a new main LED block or duplicate it. I'm going to set it to red because we can't roll again. And I'm actually going to duplicate this thing so I have 3 of them. 1 for rock, 1 for paper, 1 for scissors. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go up here. I can do that. And I can put it in here. And then at the end where it says clear display, I can put green in. So I could do that for each one, or I could make my code more efficient. Anyone have any ideas where I could put those main LEDs instead of inside of each if statement to use less of those blocks? So instead of doing it each time, I could, I'm just gonna take these apart for a second and pull those main LEDs out of there. And instead of putting it in each one, I can come up here and say on button, immediately turn it red. Get rid of this one now. And after it does all my if then statements, come down here and set it back to green. Now, instead of using 6 of those main LED blocks, I only use 2. So we have the ability to make our code more and more efficient. You know, with a program like this, would it matter? Probably not. But if you think about some large programs, things like, Photoshop or CAD software or video editing, that use a lot of data, right? They're passing a lot of data through that processor. It's really, really important to make sure your program is as efficient as possible. So this is a good way to kind of teach students that of like, hey, we did it this way the first time. Now, how can I make this more efficient to do the same thing but use less blocks, right? So that's one way we could do it. Also, I mentioned earlier, big thing about feedback. So once I play this one time, I no longer see the instructions. Press button to play. So I could come up here under my display and make a copy of that. And I'm just going to get rid of that block. And I'm going to put my display and the main LED down here at the bottom. So now it's going to bring my instructions back every single time. Are these things you absolutely have to do? No. Your program probably worked the first time, right? Are these things that are like nice to have and really like make the program look more professional? Absolutely. And those are things like once we get the students comfortable with how the program works and doing those kinds of things, give them those design challenges, those user experience challenges. How can I make this better? Right? Um, you know, especially when we're talking about games, kids are likely to have a lot of things in their minds there of like, how can I make this game better? What are some things that I can do, right? Um, so giving them that a little bit of creative freedom and giving them those open-ended challenges are really very good things to do with them in these. So let's give this thing another shot.
Press button to play.
There we go. So I have my instructions here. Press button to play. I'm going to hit that button.
Rock.
I got rock. Notice my LEDs turned red. They went back to green now, and my instructions came back. Press the button again. Of course, I'll get rock every time.
Scissors.
There we go. But you can see how I'm giving all kinds of feedback. I'm giving the visual feedback on the screen. I'm giving the visual feedback with the colored LEDs. I'm giving the auditory feedback using the speak blocks. As much feedback as I can possibly give, that's what I'm doing right here. I'm giving as much as I can.
I've got a question for you, Brad. And I don't know if maybe it's supposed to be doing that or if I'm somehow. So when I press my button the first time,
Yep.
it's reading it'll read twice. Do I have a mistake somewhere in
It could be in your code.
that I need to go back and look at my code?
Check your if statements. So if you're seeing here on my screen, it says if RPS equals 1,
Mhm.
check all of those to make sure there's not one of them that's the same number twice.
It is. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So what's happening is both of those statements are true. That's why it's giving you both. All right. Now, Bolt Plus is awesome. It has that really cool display, so we could do some fun things here under display, like while it's rolling, if we wanted to give it some time, we could come in here and do a display animation block. Under gameplay, we have like a dice rolling, we have a loading screen, all kinds of really fun things you can do here. So whatever you want to work with, you can do some cool stuff. So I think the loading bar might be one of my favorites. So if I display this, I wouldn't want to put it right at the beginning. Maybe put it after it does the RPS, and I could then delay for a few seconds, right? So maybe I want it to display that animation for 2 seconds, right? And these are, again, not necessary, but jazzes up that program a little bit. So by adding those things in, we're adding some depth to our program. We're giving our students some creative freedom with this. You could even say play it once instead of playing it, in a loop there. So now,
Press button to play.
when I'm doing that, the first time I hit that button, I get that loading screen and
Paper.
goes back.
Scissors.
Right. So you can see how you can add those fun little features into that. I would say, since I'm only doing it once, maybe I should bring my delay down a second, right? But just troubleshooting and doing those things makes it really fun for those students. If I was doing this with regular Bolt, not Bolt Plus, I would have to do this next part. Instead of doing the display images, I would have to do a matrix animation. However, we still have the ability to do a matrix animation with Bolt Plus. So I want to walk you through this part because it's actually really kind of cool, and it adds that artistic value even beyond the other choices for students. So instead of displaying our fist for rock, our flat palm for paper, and the V for scissors, we're going to make our own animations this time. So I'm just going to leave that block hang out here in space for right now. And I got that from the matrix category. And I'm going to tap on the little icon there, the grid that's on the block. And you can see there's all kinds of matrix or Sphero animations that are pre-made for the matrix in here. Ready? We're going to make our own. So I'm going to hit the plus sign here. And I'm going to get an image of the actual matrix. So I'm going to hit the little eyedropper, and I'm going to pick like a brownish color here somewhere. Find myself with a brown. That's the color that displays to you, and the color that displays to me is slightly different. So I'm trying to find one that looks about right. So I did that to get my brown color. And I'm now going to paint in the pixels that I want to display in brown. So I'm just taking my finger across here and painting in a rock. Now, I accidentally painted one too many pixels, so if I go down to my color picker and I choose black, I can get rid of that extra pixel that I had there. Think of that as the eraser. Black is turning that LED off. So drew in my rock, looks kind of like a red rock there. Awesome. And now I want to animate this. So with my animation, I am going to paint in a letter, right? I'm going to paint in the letter R. So I'm going to pick a different color. Note that if you select a different color in the color picker and you don't really want that color, you want something that's not available in the color picker, pick something and then go to the eyedropper tool. So maybe I want something that's closer to white. I can do that. Now I'm going to go pixel by pixel and paint in the letter R. But before I do that, I'm going to make a copy of this frame. So images are just one frame. Animations or video are multiple pictures or multiple frames shown on the screen very quickly. Matter of fact, the motion you see on your screen right now is running at 30 frames per second, which is actually the maximum for Bolt on the LED matrix. In this case, we're going to emulate that with Bolt Plus. So I want to make a copy of this frame. So right above the color picker, we have the eyedropper tool, the undo, go all the way to the right side, and it looks like two rounded rectangles with the plus sign. I'm going to press that, and it's going to copy my frame, duplicate the frame. Now, just in one pixel, I am going to come in here and I am going to press one pixel to change its color. Then I'm going to duplicate that frame again and do it again. So I just keep working through this process to, oh, if I make a mistake, you can undo or recolor the pixel, duplicate. And every time I repaint a pixel, I'm just going to duplicate that frame. Painting in that letter R. Again, when you're doing something like this, let the kids be creative. They might create a rock without the letter R that looks absolutely amazing. You know, they put some shading in there, like in between the pixels to transition between colors through there. You can come up with some really cool stuff. So give them that creative freedom. So if I scroll through by tapping the little arrow here, I can see all of those frames. But I can actually preview this on my robot too. So I'm going to hit the check mark to apply it. And it's going to take me back to my canvas. I'm going to tap on the icon again and hit the bouncing Sphero icon. And then at the bottom of that new window, hit preview animation on robot. And it's actually going to play it on the robot itself. So here we can see, here's my animation, right? If I feel like it's happening too fast or it's happening too slow, I can change that frame rate. I think my letter R looks pretty good doing this, so I'm not going to change this particular frame rate because it's 15 frames and it's actually right now running at 15 frames per second. So it's actually going to take 1 second to do it. When I do something else, I'll change the frame rate. So pretty cool. What I can do now is I can get rid of that display image icon and put my matrix in there. And I can do clear matrix instead of clear display and get rid of those blocks. So now what happens when I play my game? Let's take a look.
Press button to play. Paper.
I'll play 10 times before I get rocked now. It's my luck. Here we go.
Paper. Paper. Scissors. Scissors. Scissors.
Well, we're going to keep trying.
Paper. Paper.
I told you every time.
Scissors. Rock.
Hey, there we go. Woohoo! Right. So you can see how you can replace that to do some really cool stuff. Yeah, you're right, Brian. I'm not playing the lottery anytime soon because that's not working out well for me.
Brad,
So,
where you put your, oh, no, that's exactly what I was looking for.
yep, no problem.
Where you put the, right after the speak.
Yep. Yep. I basically replaced the display blocks with the matrix animation and the clear matrix instead of display and then clear display. This just gives students just that much more creative freedom when they're doing this. So they can go through and make some really cool stuff. Um, you can make scissors that open and close. You can, make the rock that spins, whatever. You can do, whatever you can imagine on there. So really,
press button to play.
All right, here we go.
Press button to play. Paper.
And of course, once the kids do all the hard work of programming this, give them a moment to, actually test their program, right? And then debug it and make some changes and improve it. All right. So, who has questions for that? Because I know that was a lot in a pretty short amount of time. We actually made a pretty cool, complex program there. Um, but it's a fun game. Cool.
I
Brian's
thought it was great. I was able to follow everything you did. I got it to work on mine. It
Woohoo!
was
All
great.
right.
It was great.
Awesome.
I thought I was doing something wrong because it kept doing paper over and over, but that's the game.
Yeah, right. You have a you have a 33 and a third percent chance of getting the same one every time, right?
Got to be a statistics lesson in this too. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great way to make a data set when you're doing statistics, right? And if you need a wider data set, right, roll a die, right? And you could 100% change this to instead of being 1 to 3, 1 to 6. And it's actually 100% was in our brains when we were thinking about that because there is a display animation for rolling a die and there is a display image for, I'm gonna find it, it's under symbols, each one of the faces of a die as well. So instead of doing a random number of 1, 2, or 3, it could be 1 through 6. When you pull a 1, it shows the face of 1. When you pull a 4, it shows a 4. Have it roll that animation, that rolling die animation in between instead of the loading bar. 100%. And then you could use this as a fun way to produce that data set that you need to do the math, right? And it's just a fun, engaging way for those students to build that. And you're teaching them some computer science in the process.
Oh, I could see a dice and multiplication game where they have to come and roll a dice with each other and then multiply. Whoever gets the answer first gets to go to the next person or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun. Absolutely. I want to be respectful of your time. We're about a minute short of 7 o'clock, but I'm more than happy to stay on here. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Something that's burning in your brain. about Bolt Plus, because I know this was our second session with Bolt Plus. So, if you have anything, or maybe you did something that was cool and you want to share it, feel free to do that.
One of the things that we are considering is sort of bringing you guys back together again. Maybe doing sort of a follow-up with sorry about the dog, doing a follow-up with some, sharing some of the lessons that you've tried in class. So we're going to send out a survey later on to say, hey, would you want to come back and meet and share some of your lessons? So keep that in mind. Look out for that email down the line. We'll try to pick a time where you guys are not super busy in the year.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I learned a lot tonight.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, small group means something, right?
It does. It really does. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And it is 7 o'clock. So if you don't have any, and if you, by the way, have questions later that come up, please feel free, email me, email Brad, email Lisa. Just let us know and we'll do our best to get some answers for you.
And did you say you'll send a recording? Will we get the recording of this? Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Each time I'm very much working on it, but yes.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Great. Because sometimes you forget what you did and you want to go back and watch it again. So that'd be great.
And this will let you kind of walk through the steps one at a time. So definitely.
Great. Thanks so much.
All right. Well, you guys have a great evening. Thank you.
Be safe in the snowstorm.
Yes.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Christine, you doing okay? I'm not sure if Christy's got sound, but we're going to go ahead and I will try again to get this recording to work. Brad, we will not see you on Thursday. So please be safe.
Yep, I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of Todd. He's awesome. He'll be able to help you out on Thursday with some fun rover stuff. I shared what we did already. He might review a couple things and then move forward with that, but he'll do great.
Oh, that'll be good. Well, I'm gonna go play with this because I love the idea of being able to make your own matrix. That's really pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really fun. And on the original Bolt, that was the only way you could do that, was doing that. But you can still do it on Bolt Plus. And actually, it just expands that capability. I actually think it looks so cool on the screen because it's emulated like that.
Oh yeah.
I think that looks so cool to be able to do it. So
definitely. Well, thank you again, as always, and hopefully we will see you in the near future. And be safe, please.
Oh yes, absolutely. Sounds great. And you as well.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Right,
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Hey, Alexis,
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
did you put a survey in like you have in other sessions that we need to fill out?
So you know what, Christy, I'm telling you, I forget everything. I will email it. I will send it out on the email because we do have a Qualtrics survey to see if this was at all helpful. So I'll put that in the email for you guys.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder.
You're welcome.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.